This is the Yocal Idaho Midweek Report, where we give you a quick overview of the news in Idaho for the last week. Starting off with our first story here, I know we've been going back and forth on this, and it came out about the 4th of July, but here's an updated report about the Sandpoint Army surplus that had a fire up there and how it's confirmed to be an arson, and there's an ongoing investigation going on. This comes by the Kootenai County Journal by Charity Joy. The 4th of July fire that destroyed the Army Surplus 1 in downtown Sandpoint has been confirmed as arson. Initially thought to be caused by fireworks, surveillance footage reviewed by the Idaho Fire Marshal and ATF revealed it was intentionally set. Owner Cornell Razor has lost not only his business of 43 years, but also personal belongings stored in the building, which, with that said, while the business inventory was insured, personal items and the building itself were not covered. The 16,000 square foot structure, once a meat locker, had sawdust-filled walls, which kind of fueled the blaze there to a certain degree. Firefighters successfully prevented the fire from spreading to neighboring buildings. Razor, who recently won a Republican primary for an Idaho House seat, plans to rebuild and continue his campaign. The Idaho Fire Marshal is offering a $5,000 reward for information leading to the arsonist's identification. Sandpoint Mayor Jeremy Grimm expressed gratitude to first responders and sympathy to Razor's family's loss. And the next one here that's had a little bit of a stir here in the valley and the state as a whole, ICCU revises eBranch agreement following concerns. This comes by KTVB7 by staff. The Idaho Central Credit Union has updated its eBranch agreement following concerns raised by former members about restrictive terms and conditions. CEO Brenda Rorell issued a clarification on July 10th, addressing the confusion caused by the previous agreement. The revised terms now explicitly state that ICCU does not regulate members' transactions. Members can use eBranch services for purchasing legal goods and services. That's the part everyone was just fine about. But the more controversial part included firearms, ammunition, and cryptocurrency, as long as those adhere to federal and state laws. While the agreement still allows for tax and court-ordered payments through the eBranch, ICCU recommends using government and state payment portals for these transactions to ensure timely delivery. These revisions come after a former member, Carla Patterson, highlighted questionable restrictions in the previous agreement, leading to her closing her account. And speaking of some questionable things, just wondering what's going on, Coeur d'Alene mayor steps down. This comes by the Coeur d'Alene/Post Falls Press by Bill Bewley. Coeur d'Alene Mayor Jim Hammond has announced his resignation effective August 31st to prioritize family and health. The 74-year-old, who began his term in January of 2022, plans to move to Fort Collins, Colorado to be closer with his young grandchildren. Hammond's decision comes after urging from his doctors to slow down, considering his family's history of cancer. Despite the difficulty of leaving northern Idaho after 50 years, Hammond emphasized the importance of being present for his grandchildren. His extensive career includes roles as a state senator, principal, and city administrator. Hammond leaves Coeur d'Alene in an interesting place, having recently implemented a new hate crime ordinance. His leadership mainly was focusing on the ideas of fostering acceptance and kindness in the community. And coming a little further down in the forest here, we have forest fire pilot survives helicopter crash in Idaho. This comes by several sources. A helicopter responding to the Bench Lake fire in Idaho's Sawtooth National Forest near Stanley crashed Thursday, July 11th in the evening, but the pilot miraculously survived. The incident occurred during an initial attack operation near Redfish Lake. Despite the crash, the pilot managed to call 911 and hike to a waiting ambulance with assistance. The U.S. Forest Service and National Transportation Safety Board are investigating the cause. The fire in the area has prompted evacuation of the inlet campground on emergency closure of the Redfish Lake recreational area. For context, the Bench Lake fire, which started on Thursday afternoon, same day that the crash happened, has grown to approximately 738 acres. This incident highlights the dangers faced by wildfire responders and comes just a day after a fatal crash that also happened with a firefighting aircraft in Montana. If you liked hearing about that news and hadn't heard about it before, please hit the like button on YouTube, Rumble, or Twitter. Helps us reach more folks who love Idaho just like you. And coming out of the mountains and into the valley here, a federal judge has allowed a lawsuit against the Simplot Company. This is coming from an environmental group, the Snake River Waterkeeper. It is bringing a lawsuit against them. The group claims that Simplot's Grandview feedlot has operated without a required pollution dischargement and has failed to prevent manure runoff into the Snake River. To give some context to this, the Simplot Grandview feedlot is one of the largest in the state. It's capable of holding up to about 150,000 cattle. Originally, Simplot wanted to dismiss the case, but the judge said the group had sufficient notice and information for it. This is because the group says they have water quality samples that show high levels of pollutants that are indicative of cow manure. So I'm guessing the judge said that was enough to move forward with it. But speaking of that, moving forward, the case is in the discovery phase and is expected to be in court in late 2025 to early 2026. So all things considered, pretty fast for the court system. And speaking of the court system and legal things, we have the Eagle City Council blocks funds for illegals. This comes by the Boise Deb by Margaret Carmel. The Eagle City Council has passed a resolution declaring it won't become a, quote, sanctuary state or using taxpayer funds to assist undocumented immigrants. This decision comes after residents voiced concerns about illegal immigration in a recent public meeting. Yes, people being involved in their local civil government. The resolution cites potential negative impacts on the budget and public safety as reasons for the stance. For contracts with the Ada County Sheriff's Office for policing, the city's move aligns with a broader discussion on immigration enforcement. This action follows rumors about immigrant buses arriving in Idaho and similar situations in other states. However, no evidence to support these exact claims have been merited about busing is coming to the Gem State, but it has been something that's been brewing for a little bit. The resolution also reflects the growing local concern about immigration issues, even as federal authorities retain the primary responsibility of enforcing immigration laws, even if they are sometimes a little bit lax in doing their job there. And keeping with Eagle here and getting back into the legal, Eagle Chick-fil-A developer takes city to court over approval reversal. This comes by the Boise Deb by Margaret Carmel. The controversy surrounding Eagle's proposed Chick-fil-A development has taken a new turn. On June 26, developer TPC Commercial and the charter school Oral Valley LLC filed a lawsuit against the city of Eagle in the Ada County's 4th District Court. This legal action follows the Eagle City Council's decision in mid-May to reconsider and block the previous approved 15-acre mixed-use project known as the East End Marketplace. The developer is seeking a permanent injunction to allow the project to proceed as initially approved. The lawsuit argues that Idaho code doesn't permit the city to reverse its decision, even without formal written approval. The developer's attorney contends that only a, quote, affected person, end quote, with property interest can request reconsideration, not the city itself. While the legal battle unfolds, a new public hearing on the project is scheduled for July 23rd. The developer is also seeking attorney's fees, potentially costing the city about $25,000 or more if litigation continues. And another blow here. Eagle was doing really well. We were on top there with the legal immigration, then a lawsuit, and then this. Intuit closes Eagle campus and exits the Treasure Valley. This comes by the Boise Deb by Donday. Software giant Intuit has announced the closure of its Eagle campus near Boise as part of a larger reconstruction that will cut about 1,800 jobs globally. This move marks the end of Intuit's presence in the Treasure Valley, which began with its acquisition of T-Sheets in 2018. The closure, which was effective last Friday, will impact about 157 local employees. While the campus shuts down immediately, employees will remain on payroll until September 9th, allowing for stock options to vest for the annual bonuses. Intuit cites a strategic pivot towards artificial intelligence as the reason for these changes. The company plans to hire about 1,800 new employees in locations deemed more strategic, including Atlanta, Bengaluru, and Tel Aviv. Affected employees will receive service packages including 16 weeks of pay, plus additional compensation based on tenure, along with extended health insurance coverage and career support services. Which, if you didn't know about that stuff closing down or the stuff that's just been going on in Eagle, then don't hesitate to share it. Your shares help us spread the word about our beautiful state. Coming back to a little bit of some positive news and kind of our last story here when we're talking about Eagle. Freedom Bagels expands to Meridian. This comes by the Boise Dev by Sydney Kidd. There's some exciting new news for bagel lovers in the Treasure Valley. Freedom Bagel Bakery is expanding with a new location in Meridian. Owner John Hertzberg has filed plans with the city of Meridian for a multi-tenant building at Meridian and McMillan Road. This move comes as the popular bakery outgrows its current Eagle Road spot. After just 2 years in business, the new location will feature a larger kitchen to boast production and bring Freedom Bagels closer to consumers in Eagle and Star. Heitzberger envisions creating a, quote, cool neighborhood bakery shop vibe, end quote, with more space for coffee services and potential outdoor patio. The 4,485 square foot building will house Freedom Bagel and 2 other tenants, while plans for the original Eagle Road location are still in the works. This expansion marks a significant step for Freedom Bagels. And coming back to city council type things, Boise narrows down police chief search to 3 finalists. This comes by the Boise Dev by Sydney Kidd. Boise has announced its top 3 candidates for police chief, narrowing the field down from 20 applicants. The finalists are Chris Denson, an assistant chief police in Tuscany, Arizona, overseeing the Central Investigations, Counter Narcotics Alliance, and Forensics departments. Then there's Tom Worthy, the chief police in Dalles, Oregon, with extensive experience in the Oregon State Police. And then lastly, Jeffrey Burt, the chief of police in Tomball, Texas, with a background in the Los Angeles Police Department. The candidates will participate in a panel interview and 2 open houses on July 18th and 19th. The public is invited to an open house at the Boise Train Depot on July 18th from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., where candidates will answer questions and meet residents. Mayor Lauren McLean will make a final selection subject to the city council's approval. The new chief will replace John Weingar, who retires on September 20th after 27 years of service. And speaking of service, World War II Idaho pilot finally coming home after 80 years. This comes by KTVB7 by staff. The U.S. Army Air Force 2nd Lieutenant Alan W. Kempner, a World War II pilot from Lewiston, Idaho, has finally been accounted for after going missing in action on July 10th, 1943. Kempner, who was 27 when his P-38 Lightning was shot down near Caltagirone, Italy, will be laid to rest in his hometown on August 2nd, 2024. The Defense POW/MIA Accounting Agency, or DPAA, a lot of acronyms there, identified Kettner's remains through extensive research, excavation, and DNA analysis. His aircraft was located using a German report found in the U.S. National Archives. Kettner's identification brings closure to his family and honors his sacrifice. A rosette will be placed next to his name on the tablets of the missing at the Sicily Rome American Cemetery in Netui, Italy, signifying that he has been accounted for. This recovery highlights the ongoing efforts to bring home Americans' fallen heroes and provide closure to the families even decades after their sacrifice. And speaking of sacrifice and life hopefully being preserved, Blackfoot welcomes the state's first safe haven baby box. This comes by the East Idaho News by Andrea Olson. Eastern Idaho has made history with the installation of Idaho's first safe haven baby box in Blackfoot, Idaho. Located at the Grove Creek Medical Center, this anonymous drop-off point provides a safe alternative for parents unable to care for their newborns. The box is the 245th in the United States and marks Idaho as the 9th state to implement this life-saving initiative. Monica Kelsley, the founder of Safe Haven Baby Boxes, emphasized the box importance in offering a, quote, no shame, no blame, and no names, end quote, to mothers in crisis. The $12,000 box was funded by the Bingham Healthcare Foundation and a KFC grant. Since 2017, 50 infants have been safely surrendered in baby boxes nationwide. This new resource in Blackfoot aims to provide hope and support for mothers facing difficult circumstances, saving lives in the process. Which, if you've liked the content we've talked about thus far and you don't want to miss any of our future updates or even the Sunday show, make sure to subscribe or follow us so you don't miss any of our future content. And coming to our second to last story, if you want to beat the heat and hopefully the smoke isn't too bad, it is Huckleberry season here in Idaho. Here are some best practices for picking. This comes by the Bonner County Daily Bee by staff. As As huckleberry season approaches here in Idaho, it is important to follow the best practices to be safe and responsible while foraging. The Idaho Panhandle National Forest has offered a few key tips on this. The first is pick only for personal use. Commercial gathering is prohibited. Using hand picking methods to avoid damaging plants. And then harvesting only what you actually consumed so you can avoid waste, because we don't want to waste them. They're so delicious anyways. The next is to be aware of bears, making noise, carrying bear spray, and following food storage orders in certain areas so you don't have to deal with that. Another one is staying in the National Forest land and using a map to avoid trespassing, practicing fire safety and proper vehicle maintenance. Another one is leaving no trace, avoiding litter, and creating new trails, because that can cause other issues, not to touch the environment as much, hopefully. Another one that they're advocating for is leave no trace, so avoiding litter and creating new trails, because that can cause erosion and different things and stuff, and just staying on the main trail there and not dirtying things up. Another one, anytime you go in the forest, this is a good one, informing someone of your plans and the route before heading out, so if something happens, they can send someone out to find you and help you. Hopefully by following these guidelines as you go to pick Idaho's state fruit, it will preserve the ecosystem and ensure future harvests. Among all of this, please remember to be responsible foraging and help maintain the Idaho that we love and this beloved tradition of picking huckleberries. And coming to our last story, if you're over there in eastern Idaho Falls Sidewalk Chalk Festival returns for the third year. This comes by the East Idaho News by Logan Ramsey. For all you art lovers out there, the Idaho Falls Sidewalk Chalk Festival is set to return for its third year on July 20th, promising a day of colorful creativity for Idaho Falls. Sponsored by River West Dental and the Art Museum of Eastern Idaho, this free event has grown significantly, now featuring about 55 complete artists across various categories. Artists will transform sidewalks into canvases, creating classical art pieces, lifelike portraits, and pop-up culture works. The competition offers a cash prize in different experiences and age brackets, with the top pro-level award of reaching about $1,000. Beyond the competition, the festival offers activities for all ages. Children can enjoy a free drawing section, while the Art Museum will host a chalk making and art journal workshop. The event starts early for artists, but spectators typically arrive around 10:30 a.m., and event coordinator Kylie Peterson emphasized the festival's unique ability to tap into childhood creativity and imagination. While there is a growing population across all of the state, the Idaho Falls Sidewalk Chalk Festival is becoming a highlight for those in eastern Idaho, specifically in the summer. Which, that brings us to the end of the Midweek Report. Thank you for listening to the entire report. I sincerely hope you found it enjoyable and valuable. If you like the Midweek Report, make sure to check out the Sunday show, where John and me have been going through some Idaho Bill breakdowns and working through those. Plus, there's some more content to come on our Substack. If we missed any important points or provided incorrect information, please feel free to reach out to us by email at lyimedia@protonmail.com or on Twitter by tweeting us at local Yocal Idaho. With a small team we have, we're not able to cover everything, but we do our best to cover the most interesting and important stories. That's all for now, and I wish you a fantastic rest of your week. Godspeed.